Monster Hunter World doesn't just provide players with a world of fire-breathing dinosaurs and electrified wyverns, it outfits them with an armory of sick-ass weapons and asks, so, which one do you want to try? And not only that, but which one do you want to try first? There's everything from transforming axes to samurai-esque longswords, stat-buffing hunting horns and dual blades. Basically, if a team of hunters are going to take down a hulking creature, they're going to do it in style. The best advice when starting out is just choose a weapon that you most enjoy using, but there are winners and losers overall, and the last thing you want is to spend hours mastering a weapon that turns out to be total guff. With all that in mind, I'm Scott from occult.com, and this is Monster Hunter World, ranking every weapon from worst to best. Number 14, the Sword and Shield. Pros: can use items while guarding, is fast and evasive. Cons: low damage, blocking is only situationally effective, and weapon sharpness decays rapidly. The Sword and Shield is great for newcomers. Chugging potions without having to sheath your weapon is a definite plus, but that accessibility comes at a cost. That being range, as you'll need to be within spitting distance of a monster to even scratch it. Number 13, Hunting Horn. Pros: unrivaled team support, respectable damage, blunt damage is an easy stagger. The cons: limited moveset, slow attack speed, and it's less useful in solo play. Every great RPG offers a dedicated support role, and though the Hunting Horn can buff stats through songs, its remaining offensive moves are burdened by simplicity and a lack of variety. Yes, you'll deal respective amounts of damage, but it's nothing on the raw output of other heavy weapons. In fact, unless you really love the musical aspect and plan on playing exclusively in co-op, then the Hunting Horn's closest relative, the hammer, will always be the superior choice. Number 12, the Lance. Pros: block and counter playstyle, long range, and the best defense of all the melee classes. Cons: it's slow, and it makes it difficult to dodge. The Lance's powerful skewering charge is a beast. You can literally plow into monsters when other players are fleeing, but it falls down next to the superior gun lance. Not to mention, dodging with this thing is suicidal to say the least. It doesn't mean the lance is useless, especially for defensive play, but it carries with it all the cons that affect both it and the gun lance without boasting any of the latter's positives. Number 11, the Longsword. Pros: it's well-rounded, the spirit gauge provides progressive damage increases, and there's long range. The cons though: there's no block, it's counterproductive for teammates, and the spirit gauge results in high damage variance. A literal double-edged sword, the longsword's spirit gauge is also its biggest problem. See, landing successive attacks will build substantial power, but that momentum has to be maintained, and when you're not in combat, the meter goes into rapid decline. Roaring and fleeing enemies become the bane of your life, especially in high-rank quests, and messing up just one combo will punish you with a sizable damage penalty. There's also the small matter of its irritating frequency to interrupt other players' attack animations, thanks to its wide range. So don't be surprised to see teammates ostracize you in the heat of battle. Number 10, Insect Glaive. Pros: the best mobility, easy mounting, fast attacks, and self-buffs. The cons: low attack power, you can't block, and there's a high stamina cost. The weapon of choice for any hunter wanting to slay in style, the Insect Glaive lets you pole vault onto monsters' backs for easy mounts and takedowns. But beyond that, it's pretty lacking. A stiff breeze will knock you out of the sky, its attacks are all pretty weak, and still they guzzle stamina. You can offset some of these issues by training and using the stat-altering Kinsects, but even then it's hard not to feel like a mosquito forever pestering the larger creatures. Number 9, Switch Axe. Pros: it's versatile, the file system adds bonus effects, but the cons: there's no block, there's limited mobility in sword mode, and sharpness deteriorates quickly. A brilliantly designed hybrid, the Switch Axe excels against larger creatures when in axe form, only to churn out some eye-watering damage as a sword. Both modes complement each other through the file system, but you'll really have to put the time in to master it. The Switch Axe is also one of the only heavy class weapons not to have access to a block, meaning that you need to rely on dodging frequently. Number 8, the Hammer. Pros: massive raw attack power, able to run with the weapon drawn, and blunt attacks make for easy KOs. The cons though: it's the worst in tier for sharpness, there's a terrible reach, and you can't cut tails. Beaten only by the Greatsword in terms of raw power, the hammer is nothing short of a primal force of sheer destruction, able to shatter even Nergigante's solid bone exoskeleton. In order to ensure that this blunt instrument isn't a runaway winner though, Capcom have put a cap on reach, meaning you'll need to risk life and limb to dish out consistent damage up close, whilst constantly busting out whetstones to combat how quickly the weapon loses its edge. Number 7, the Gun Lance. The pros: huge reach and shell damage is unblockable. The cons: awful mobility and shell attacks eat sharpness. As you can imagine, the inclusion of a gun barrel makes for an even more cumbersome weapon than the regular lance, but bear in mind that each shell fired results in unblockable damage. The downside is that using the Gunlance's best ability eats through sharpness, and for a weapon type that struggles to move out of harm's way in the first place, you'll want to thoroughly consider and space out your shots, lest you be stuck poking a Rathalos with nothing but a nub. Number 6. The Heavy Bowgun. Pros: high damage / ammo capacity, long range, and the ability to block. The cons: slow fire rate and movement, and material-hungry ammo types. Between the two bowguns, it's the light version that comes out on top, for reasons that I'll get into later, but the heavy-duty variation is the only ranged weapon that's also able to block incoming attacks. Despite an exceptional range, this defensive trait is a necessary one, given that cramming additional ammo into the chamber takes an age and leaves you open to attack. Play to the weapon's strengths as a heavy-hitting ranged support able to spam artillery bombardments from afar, and even Basilgeese's carpet bombing runs can't match up to this thing's damage output. Number 5. The Bow. Pros: infinite ammo, there's lots of ammo coatings, it's easy to use, and it's mobile. Cons: you can't block. The bow's inexhaustible quiver of infinite arrows isn't going to do much against monsters with thick hides, but that's where its coatings come in. Paralysis, blast, sleep, the mighty dragon piercer, and more, they can all do great sustained damage. The only downside to all this utility is that the bow has no block, though keep one well-trained eye on an opponent's attack pattern and you'll emerge unscathed. Number 4. Dual Blades. The pros: high damage combos, demon and archdemon modes, dual elements. And the cons: no block, the shortest range, sharpness goes very fast, and it's a high skill threshold. Combo chaining is the dual blade's bread and butter, complemented further by the pair's demon and archdemon modes, but you won't be untouchable, far from it. With the shortest range of all weapon types and a total inability to block, anticipating what the wildlife of the new world is going to do before they do it is key to preserving your life, especially as once you're locked into a combo, there's no way of cancelling the string of attacks into a dodge. It's kinda the textbook definition of a glass cannon. Number 3. The Great Sword. Pros: highest damage, unique block, good range, staggering charge attacks, and a slow sharpness deterioration. The cons: slow reactive times, and it requires practice. If it's raw power you're after, look no further than the Great Sword. Monster Hunter World's de facto strongest choice has the ability to register impressive damage numbers, but skill, timing, and spacing will still dictate usefulness more than any other available weapon. Thankfully, Capcom has balanced the dangerous nature of wielding this thing with an instant guard ability, something that lets you block faster at the expense of sharpness, potentially saving your hunter's bacon from being roasted or worse. It sounds counterproductive, but as the Great Sword's sharpened edge takes an age to become blunt in the first place, you can wade on in. Number 2. The Light Bowgun. Pros: mobile, a high fire rate, and a large variety of ammo, but the cons: it all must be crafted, there's a low damage, no block, and some recoil. Small, fast-firing, and packed with enough specialized tools to rival a Swiss Army knife, the Light Bowgun is the quintessential ranged weapon that excels in any support role. With status-inflicting ammo types out the wazoo and a unique ability called Wyvern Blast that compensates for an otherwise low damage output, there's simply no beating its utility. Besides that, each ammo type has an optimum firing range, dictating different damages at different distances, some of which will force you into close-quarters combat. Still, knowing your enemy will make this built-in weakness a non-issue, and to be honest, practice makes perfect. Number 1. The Charge Blade. Pros: it's versatile, there's huge damage with the axe, and you can use files in both forms. And the cons: it requires complex combos for full damage. This marvel of engineering not only houses the clout of the hammer, the reach of the longsword, and the staying power of the gunlance, but the versatility of the switch axe to boot, thanks to its two forms. The Charge Blade relies on the file system to produce maximum damage, the key difference being that both forms, the blade and the sword and shield, benefit from build-up. Expending the gauge in either form will bolster damage and defense, but skillfully transitioning from one mode to another is where the real bang for your buck comes in. And that's our list. Let me know down in the comments what your ranking would be. Please click the bell below the video to keep up with all of our content. I've been Scott from ourculture.com, and I'll catch you soon.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. Might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.